Hello, my name is Brianna George, and today I'm presenting the Three Worlds presentation, where I'll be going over the literary, historical, and contemporary worlds for the Good Samaritan. So first, I will dive into the characters. So we have a certain man who we do not know his name, but he was traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, which was a really bad area. And he is someone who was traveling, and he was robbed, and he was beaten and left for dead on the side of the roads, which brings us to our next characters, were the robbers. And the robbers are the ones who left the traveler and beat him half to death. And then we have the priest. A priest passes by the injured man but avoids helping him. And we have a Levite. A Levite also passes by without offering any assistance. And then we have a Samaritan. And you have to understand, a Samaritan were despised by the Jews at the time. And he stops to not only help the injured man tend to his wounds, but he takes him to an inn and pays for his care until he gets back. Now, the narrative of the Good Samaritan parable centers on a traveler who was attacked and left for dead by thieves and was helped by a Samaritan despite being ignored by the priest and the Levite. So, some themes that I picked up in this story were compassion and mercy. So the Samaritan's actions, despite their social and cultural differences, and Jesus chose the Samaritan as the hero of this parable, which is kind of strange, given how the relationship between the Jews and the Samaritans. Human worth, the parable shows how every human is valuable. Justice and injustice, the injustice of the robbers leaving him for death, and the indifference of the priest and the Levite, the contrasting actions of the Good Samaritan, responsibility to not ignore people you see that need help. Do you ever see people in your life, everyday life, who need help and we just ignore them and just pass by and not help them? And then love thy neighbor. So reinforcing Jesus's message of love thy neighbor as thyself, regardless of race, social status, or religion. So historical, religious, and cultural reasons all contributed to the tense relationship between the Samaritan and the Jews. So this relationship was marked with hostility and conflict during this period. These tensions dated back for centuries. So these problems between the Jews and the Samaritans were ongoing for years, and the Jews viewed Samaritans as just unclean and dirty. There is a lot of religious divides that cause animosity between the Jews and the Samaritans. The Jews believed that the Samaritans were impure because of the intermarriages between non-Israelite groups and the Samaritans. So, through the contrast between the Samaritans and the compassionate actions and the indifference of the priest and the Levite in the parable highlights issues of social justice and the importance of advocating for the rights and well-being of marginalized groups. So, in my personal opinion, I felt like the fart of the story was that people are kind of Jesus does highlight and use the Samaritan for a reason, right? But from what I kind of read and what I understood about the parable is that the unnamed man who was left on the side of the road, that's the focus of the story, because he goes amongst a group of thieves and he decides to go with them on this journey going from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he ends up being beaten by them, right? And I feel like that man is the highlight of the story, and everyone always pays attention to the Samaritan. So that's what I kind of believe is the fart, per se, of the story. And that's my presentation. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.